House will please be in order. Those persons not having privilege of the floor will please vacate the chamber. Members and guests in the galleries will please rise as we are led in prayer today by the gentleman of 27th, Douglas Griffith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I offer a prayer that's an actual adaptation of a 17th century nuns prayer that I think is appropriate for us. Let us pray. Lord, you know better than we know ourselves that we are conducting important work for the people of West Virginia. Keep us from the fatal habit of thinking we should say something on every subject and on every occasion. Release us from craving to straighten out everyone's opinions. Make us thoughtful, but not moody, helpful, but not bossy. With our vast store of wisdom, it seems a pity not to use it all, but then again, we each will need a few friends in the end. Keep our minds free from the recital of endless details and give us wings to get to the point. Seal our lips on our complaints because they are increasing, and the love of rehearsing them becomes sweeter as the days go by. We dare not ask enough for grace to endure the complaints of others, but help us to endure them with patience. We dare not ask for improved memories, but for a growing humility and a reduced cocksureness when our memories or opinions clash with those of others. Teach us the glorious lesson that occasionally we may be mistaken. Keep us reasonably sweet. We should not act like saints. Some of them are so hard to live with. And a sour person is one of the crowning works of the devil. Give us the ability to see good things in unexpected places and talents in unexpected places and people. And give us, O Lord, the grace to tell them so. You have blessed our state with a beauty that is almost heaven. Grant us the desire to honor others with all of your heavenly love. Amen.
Amen. If all members and guests will remain standing, we'll be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by the gentleman of the 40th, Douglas Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance to the state our country we all love. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Members and guests may be seated. Reading the Journal.
Journal of the House of Delegates, Thursday, January 19th, 2023.
Gentleman 30th, Douglas Adkins.
Mr. Speaker, I'd ask the unanimous consent that the further reading of the journal be dispensed with and that it be approved as having been read.
The gentleman of 30th asked unanimous consent that the further reading of the journal be dispensed with and that it be approved as having been read. Are there objections? There are no objections. Lady from the 71st, Douglas Kimball.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to proceed to the 7th order of business.
Lady from the 71st asks unanimous consent to proceed directly to the 7th order of business. Are there objections? There are no objections. Resolutions.
House Resolution 5, honoring the life and service of Nicholas County Deputy Sheriff Thomas Tom Edward Baker, who gave his life.
Lady from the 71st.
Joining us today is Jamie Baker, Timmy and Kristen Baker, Patty Lauk, Aaron and Mandy Evans, Dee Grimm, Nicholas County Sheriff Billy Nunley, Nicholas County Deputies Johnny Evans and Jerry Hall, Carol and James Walton, and Summersville Police Officers Alec Anderson and Ryan Barnett. They are escorted into the chamber by Delegates Tolley and Hanna. Mr. Speaker, I now ask unanimous consent that committee reference be dispensed with and that the resolution be taken up for immediate consideration.
The lady from the 71st asked unanimous consent that the committee reference for House Resolution 5 be dispensed with and that the resolution be taken up for immediate consideration and put upon its adoption. Are there objections to the request? Chair hears no objection to the request. Clerk will please read the resolution.
House Resolution 5, honoring the life and service of Nicholas County Deputy Sheriff Thomas Tom Edward Baker, who gave his life in the line of duty protecting the citizens of Nicholas County, West Virginia. Whereas Nicholas County Deputy Sheriff Thomas Tom Edward Baker of Summersville, West Virginia, passed away on June 3, 2022, at Summersville Regional Medical Center after he was shot in the line of duty while serving a warrant. Whereas Deputy Sheriff Thomas Tom Edward Baker was the son of Thomas E. Baker, Jr., and Sheila Baker of Salisbury, North Carolina, and Carol and James Walton of Mount Nebo, West Virginia. He was predeceased by his grandparents, Thomas and June Baker, and Harlan and Ann Walls. He is survived by his wife and soulmate, Jamie D. Lauk Baker, 2 children, Timothy Baker and Kristen Baker, and 2 stepchildren, William LeMasters and Lily Meadows. He is also survived by a loving grandmother, Sarah Jackson of Wyden, mother and father-in-law, Charles and Patty Lauk of Summersville, sisters, Michelle Brown, David of Lexington, Kentucky, and Tammy Long, Mike of Salisbury, North Carolina, as well as nieces and nephews and several great-nieces and nephews. Whereas Deputy Sheriff Thomas Tom Edward Baker graduated from Nicholas County High School in 1991, where he was known as Tex. He attended Concord College and was a graduate of the West Virginia Police Training Class of 1997. He was a member and deacon of Restoration Fellowship and a member of the Summersville Masonic Lodge number 76. Although he took a break from law enforcement for 7 years, he could not get it out of his blood. Deputy Sheriff Baker worked as a greaser on a strip mine, an insurance agent, a salesman for Arivac, a car salesman, and a bail bondsman before returning to the job that held his heart with the Nicholas County Sheriff's Department. Among his many attributes, he was known as a great deputy, a wonderful friend, and will be remembered for his contagious smile and laugh. Therefore, be it resolved by the House of Delegates that the members of the House of Delegates of the 86th Legislature hereby publicly note the life, accomplishments, and service of Nicholas County Deputy Sheriff Thomas Tom Edward Baker, who gave his life in the line of duty protecting the citizens of Nicholas County, West Virginia. And be it further resolved that the life and service of Nicholas County Deputy Sheriff Thomas Tom Edward Baker be memorialized and remembered. And be it further resolved that the clerk forward a copy of this resolution to the family of the late Nicholas County Deputy Sheriff Thomas Tom Edward Baker.
The question before the House is the adoption of the resolution just read by the clerk. Roll call is demanded. Is the demand sustained? The demand is sustained. The question is, shall the resolution be adopted? Those in favor of adoption of the resolution will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. The clerk will also record the votes of those members escorting our guests as having voted in the affirmative. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there were 91 ayes, 0 nays, and 0 members absent. The majority of members voting in the affirmative, the chair declares this resolution adopted. House will please be at ease while the chair presents the resolution. Members and guests may be seated. Introductions. Gentleman that's 12th, Dr. Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today is Dyslexic Awareness Day in the West Virginia Legislature. Dyslexic is a specific learning disability that is a neurobiological in origin. It is characteristic by difficulties with accurate and fluent word recognition and or poor spelling and decoding abilities. Today, we have with us advocates and students that suffer from dyslexic. We have some in this chamber that suffer from it, including myself. Today, I would like to recognize Amy Gramsberg, the Parkersburg High School teacher advocate, along with students from Wood County, Boone County, Lincoln County, Gilmer County, Summers County, Marshall County, students and advocates. And most of all, my daughter, who's a special ed teacher in Wirt County, and if I didn't recognize her, I would pay for it all weekend. My daughter, Brandy Chris Keaton. Thank you.
Gentleman 13th, Dr. Hackert.
Yes, sir, Mr. Speaker, thank you. In the South Gallery, we have the Honorable Sheriff from Wood County and a really good friend of mine. Please make him feel welcome, Rick Woodard.
Gentleman 72nd, Dr. Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, joining us in the South Gallery is our sheriff from Harrison County, representing the 69th, 70th, 71st, and 72nd. If the House would please make Sheriff Matheny welcome. Thank you.
Gentleman 8th, Dr. Kelly.
Mr. Speaker, in the South Gallery is the sheriff from Doddridge County, Clinton Boring. Would you all make him feel welcome today?
Gentleman 61st, Dr. Jeffries.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today with us in the North Gallery, we have Elk Valley Christian School's senior political science class. They are escorted by Mike and Debbie Wilson. Please make them feel welcome.
Gentleman 42nd, Dr. Steele.
In the South Gallery today, we're joined by the Sheriff of Raleigh County, who has just been newly appointed about a month ago. And I would say is a good friend that before I came here and I was in the prosecutor's office, I had the opportunity to work with him on a many number of things, and great individual. If everyone would, and of course, on behalf of all the delegation from Raleigh County, we want to welcome our Sheriff, Jimmy Canaday. Thank you, everyone.
Gentleman from the 11th, Dr. Fehrenbacher.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to draw your attention to the South Gallery, where Mr. Bob Boone of the McDonough Foundation is present today. The McDonough Foundation does a number of very philanthropic efforts throughout the state of West Virginia. I'd ask the Chamber to show Mr. Boone a warm welcome from all of us.
Gentleman from the 22nd, Dr. Linville.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of all the members of the Cabell County delegation, I note our Sheriff and Chief Deputy, Sheriff Chuck Zirkle and Sheriff Deputy Doug Adams. If they would please stand, and will our lawmakers make our law enforcement feel welcome.
Gentleman from the 99th, Dr. Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the South Gallery, representing the 97th, 98th, 99th, and the 100th District, our Sheriff, Mr. Thomas Hanson. Thank you, sir.
Gentleman, the 94th, Dr. Kump.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Great googly moogly, for sure and for certain, it is my pleasure and privilege to introduce a wonderful friend of me and my bodacious and beloved wife, Cheryl, a man of incredible personal and professional integrity, the best sheriff that Berkeley County has ever had, Sheriff Nathan Harmon in the South Gallery.
The gentleman from the 47th, Dr. Longenecker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of Delegate Honaker, Greenbrier County is pleased to say we have a wonderful and bodacious sheriff of Greenbrier County who keeps our county wonderful and safe for the tourists. Come on down to Greenbrier County. Give welcome to Sheriff Bruce Sloan.
Lady from the 31st, Dr. Mizaki.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the North Gallery, I have a friend, Matt Lorimer, with the Alliance Defending Freedom. Please make him feel special.
The gentleman from the 90th, Dr. Miller.
Mr. Speaker, in the South Gallery, we have the Sheriff of Morgan County, K.C. Boer. Will you please rise and stand? Thank you so much for your service.
Gentleman from the 51st, Dr. Fast.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the South Gallery, we have the Sheriff of Fayette County, Michael Fridley. If the House would please make him welcome. And also in the South Gallery behind me, we have from Pax, West Virginia, Pastor Eric Davis and his son, Jedediah. Would please House make them feel welcome.
Gentleman from the 74th, Dr. DeVault.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If I could address everybody's attention to the North Gallery, I want to welcome to us parishioners from the Hampton Road Baptist Church. We have with us today Pastor Josh Carlisle, his beautiful wife Ashley, their 4 sons, Hunter, Tanner, Chandler, and Carter. We have Mr. Jonathan Worth, Carl Andrick, his wife Andrea, and his daughter Emmy, and son Tyler. Would the House please make them welcome?
Gentleman from the 14th, Dr. Fogan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the South Gallery, I would like to introduce to you Lieutenant Mike Cochran and Captain Richard George of the Wood County Sheriff's Department.
Lady from the 36th, Dr. Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am pleased to be able to announce today that in the West Gallery we have with us our Sheriff for McDowell County. We're very proud of him and all that he does for us. If you would please make welcome Sheriff James Boomer Munson. I'm also pleased to announce that we have 3 pages from McDowell County today. I'm very proud to be able to say that we have Miss Lauren Cook and Miss Kaylee Perkins, both from Mount View Middle School, along with Miss Chloe Kraft from Mount View High School, and they are accompanied by Chloe's parents, Roger and Mandy Kraft, who are also in the West Gallery. If you would please make them welcome.
Gentleman 17th, Dr. Pinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have a couple 100 folks all throughout the Capitol, including in the Senate and in our House galleries, that are here today celebrating Religious Liberty Day. We have the 4th grade class from Ohio Valley Christian School that came down to be a part of Religious Liberty Day. I'd like to introduce the fourth grade class. As I call their name, I'd ask them to stand, please. There's several. So let's begin with my daughter, Avery Pinson. And then we have Macy, Olivia, Katie, Sawyer, Zayden, Carson, Paxton, Rylan, and Jackson. They're brought down today by their fourth grade teacher, Mrs. Burgess. Mr. Speaker, I'd also like to introduce, joining me on the House floor, my son, Jonah Pinson, and then in the North Gallery, my wife, our 2.5-month-old, and then my son. This is my wife, Amy, Ansley, and Joel Pinson. If the House would please make them feel welcome.
Chairman 57, Douglas Scaff.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of my colleagues from Kanawha County, please join me in the South Gallery here. I see former Police Chief of St. Albans and current Deputy Chief of Kanawha County Sheriff's Department, friend and colleague, Mr. Joe Crawford.
Gentleman 64th, Douglas Burkhammer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank all the law enforcement here, but I would particularly like to welcome the Sheriff of Lewis County. I believe he's in the South Gallery. Let's welcome Sheriff Dave Gosa, if we can make him feel welcome.
The gentleman 65th, Douglas Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today in the South Gallery, we have our Chief Deputy Sheriff from Upshur County, Mike Kaufman, and he's accompanied by his daughter, who is a page in the Senate today. If everybody will please make them feel welcome.
Lady in the 19th, Douglas Kraus.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the Putnam County delegation of the 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21st districts, I'd like to introduce our Putnam County Sheriff in the South Gallery, Mr. Bobby Eggleton. He's usually very recognizable with his big old black Stetson hat. Thank you.
Gentleman 25th, Douglas Hornbuckle.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of all the delegates from Huntington, I'd like to recognize a guest with us today. Cindy Taylor, would you please stand? She is from Huntington, and she is here on behalf of Dyslexia Awareness Day. House, please make her feel welcome.
Gentleman 33rd, Douglas Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm pretty sure that I see my sheriff from Logan County up here, P.D. Clemens, and I'd like to House make him feel welcome, please. The best sheriff from West Virginia.
Gentleman 15th, Douglas Keaton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This morning in the West Gallery, we are joined by Pastor Justin Simmons and the students of Faith Christian Academy. If all of you folks will please stand, and House, if you'll make them welcome.
Gentleman 32nd, Douglas Holstein.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Joining us in the North Gallery is Shelley and Parker Brenniger. They're here for Dyslexia Awareness Day. They're residents of Madison, West Virginia, and Boone County, so if the House would please make them welcome.
Gentleman 76, Douglas Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of Delegates Mallow, DeVault, and Summers, I would like to welcome the Marion County Sheriff, Jimmy Riffle. Please make him welcome.
Gentleman 18th, Douglas Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Also joining us as part of the 2023 Religious Freedom Rally, we have Mrs. Jarvis's 6th grade class from Ohio Christian School. We have, and if these children would stand as I announce their names, and I'm not sure what gallery they're in, I can't see over here on my left, but we have Mason, Bailey, Kylie, Allison, Nick, Levi, Skyla, Brandon, Jesse, Dane, Bryce, Owen, Noblin, Reagan, and Elin. And again, Mrs. Jarvis, would the House please make them welcome?
The gentleman from the 43rd, Tony.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today's Concord University Day here at the Capitol. If you've looked out in the rotunda, you've seen them here. Please go out and see them. They have pepperoni rolls and stuff for you. And Dr. Balgus is also here. I'm not sure if she made it from the Senate yet, but if we can give Concord University a hand for being here today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from the 27th, Dr. Griffith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my honor and privilege to introduce our Paige from Wayne County today. She's from CK Middle School, and she's doing her job, so she's in the members' room right now. But also her mother, Jenny Griffith Butler. She is my daughter, and the Paige is my granddaughter, and it's an honor to introduce them both. Thank you very much.
Gentleman 29th, Dr. Dillon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The gentleman from the 28th and I would like to direct your attention to the South Gallery to recognize a friend of all who love liberty, a courageous patriot, currently the face of the fight for medical freedom in West Virginia, Miss Amber Robinson. If you'd stand, make Amber feel welcome today.
Gentleman the 5th, Dr. Fluharty.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of Delegate Storch and myself, I'd like to welcome in the gallery for Dyslexia Awareness Day a certified dyslexia practitioner, Becky Ryder from Ohio County. If she could stand and the House make her feel welcome. Thank you.
Are there other introductions? Standing committee reports.
Your Committee on Workforce Development has had under consideration House Bill 2005, establishing the dual enrollment pilot program to be administered by the Higher Education Policy Commission and the Council for Community and Technical College Education in conjunction with the State Board of Education, and reports the same back with amendment with the recommendation that it do pass as amended, but that it first be referred to the Committee on Education.
That report will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Education.
Your Committee on Workforce Development has had under consideration House Bill 2515, require agencies to develop and maintain an inventory of available services for single parents wanting to obtain degrees, secure training, or re-enter the workforce, and reports the same back with amendment with the recommendation that it do pass as amended, but that it first be referred to the Committee on Government Organization.
That report will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Government Organization.
Your Committee on Health and Human Resources has had under consideration House Bill 2007, prohibiting certain medical practices, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass, but that it first be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
That report will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Judiciary.
Your Committee on Health and Human Resources has had under consideration House Bill 2759, relating to updating the health care provider tax, and reports the same back with amendment with the recommendation that it do pass as amended, but that it first be referred to the Committee on Finance.
That report will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Your Committee on Health and Human Resources has had under consideration House Bill 2757, relating to amending eligibility for the West Virginia Invest program, providing that a not-for-profit hospital-based allied health program is eligible for the West Virginia Invest program, and reports back a committee substitute therefore with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass.
That report will be received.
Your Committee on Health and Human Resources has had under consideration House Bill 2756, relating to the Controlled Substance Monitoring Database and adding the reporting of medical marijuana to the database, and reports the same back with amendment with the recommendation that it do pass as amended, but that it first be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
That report will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Judiciary.
Your Committee on Health and Human Resources has had under consideration House Bill 2754, relating to immunizations performed in a pharmacy, and reports back a committee substitute therefore with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass.
That report will be received.
Your Committee on Energy and Manufacturing has had under consideration House Bill 2644, authorizing the Department of Environmental Protection to promulgate a legislative rule relating to rules for quarrying and reclamation, House Bill 2645, authorizing the Department of Environmental Protection to promulgate a legislative rule relating to the Recycling Assistance Grant Program, and House Bill 2646, authorizing the Department of Environmental Protection to promulgate a legislative rule relating to reclamation of abandoned and dilapidated properties grant program, and reports the same back with the recommendation that they each do pass, but that they first be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
That report will be received. Those bills will be referred to the Committee on Judiciary.
Your Committee on Energy and Manufacturing has had under consideration House Bill 2647, authorizing the Department of Environmental Protection to promulgate a legislative rule relating to reclamation of solar and wind electricity generating facilities, and reports the same back with amendment with the recommendation that it do pass as amended, but that it first be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
The report will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Judiciary.
Your Committee on Finance has had under consideration House Bill 2776, updating meaning of federal adjusted gross income and certain other terms used in the West Virginia Personal Income Tax Act, and House Bill 2777, updating federal taxable income and other terms in the West Virginia Corporation Net Income Tax Act, and reports the same back with the recommendation that they each do pass.
That report will be received. Are there other standing committee reports? If not, select committee reports, executive messages, Senate messages.
The Clerk of the Senate announces that the Senate has passed the following bills. Senate Bill 74, providing for substantial deference to state superintendents' interpretations of school laws.
That message will be received. The bill will be referred to the Committee on Judiciary.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 83, authorizing tactical medical professionals to carry firearms.
That message will be received. The bill will be referred to the Committee on Government Organization. Are there further Senate messages? Resolutions, petitions, bills introduced.
House Bill 2846, to limit the amount of ballot propositions.
Lady from 71st.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that the further reading of bills introduced be dispensed with, and that each bill be considered as formally introduced and be referred to the appropriate committees as indicated on the chamber automation system.
Lady from 71st, ask unanimous consent that the further reading of bills introduced be dispensed with, and that each bill be considered as having been formally introduced and referred to the appropriate committees as indicated on the chamber automation system. Are there objections? There are no objections. Motions? Unfinished business. Bills on third reading.
House Bill 2017, relating to service of process in child abuse cases.
Lady from 71st.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In accordance with House Rule 100, I move that the bill be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
Lady from 71st moves that House Bill 2017 be committed to the Committee on the Judiciary. Is there discussion on the motion? If not, those in favor of the motion, please say aye. As opposed, please say no. The ayes have it. Chair declares that motion adopted. The bill will be committed to the Committee on the Judiciary. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2412, declaring November 14th every year a special Memorial Day in remembrance of the Marshall University airplane crash.
This bill was advanced to third reading yesterday with the general right to amend. Are there amendments?
Delegate Hornbuckle moves to amend the bill on page 2, Section 1A, line 35, by striking out the words airplane crash and inserting in lieu thereof the words 75 Memorial.
The question is on the amendment just read by the clerk. Is there discussion or debate on the amendment? If not, those in favor of adoption of the amendment will please say aye. As opposed, please say no. If the ayes have it, Chair declares the amendment adopted. Are there further amendments to the bill? If not, the clerk will please read the bill a third time.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2412, declaring November 14th every year a special Memorial Day in remembrance of the Marshall University airplane crash.
Gentleman 68, Delegate Phillips.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The purpose of this bill is to declare November 14th of every year a special Memorial Day in remembrance of the 1970 Marshall University airplane crash that killed 75 people. I urge its passage.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Gentleman from the 25th, Delegate Hornbuckle.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I rise today humbly with all of my delegates from the Huntington area, the Wayne area, all the other co-sponsors, and quite frankly, all of you all. This tragedy was not just about football. It wasn't just about Huntington or Marshall University, but it was heard around the state. During that tragedy, the whole country actually stopped and came together. It was arguably the largest tragedy and incident in NCAA history. And we want to make sure that we can honor all those that have fallen. I will tell you that I've spoken many a times at the Plane Crash Memorial in Huntington, West Virginia on campus. And no matter how old, how young, where you come from, there's rarely ever a dry eye in the crowd because it's just that moving. But the underlying issue of that is also unity. Community coming together to pick up the pieces and trying to put something back together, trying to put greatness back together. And we've done that. And I think we should symbolize that in our great state. And today, when we all light up this board green, I want us to remember all of those 75. I would like for us to remember James Adams, Mark Andrews, Mike Blake, Dennis Blevins, Willie Bluford, Larry Brown, Tom Brown, Roger Childers, Stuart Cottrell, Rickard Dartigan, David DeBoard, Kevin Gilmore, David Griffith, Arthur Harris Jr., Bob Harris, Bob Hill, Joe Hood, Tom Howard, Marcelo Lauderman, Richard Leach, Barry Nash, Pat Norrell, James Patterson, Scotty Reese, Jake Repassy, Larry Sanders, Al Saylor, Art Shannon, Ted Shoebridge, Alan Skeens, Jerry Standback, Donald Tackett, Bob Van Horn, Roger Vanover, Fred Wilson, John Young, Tom Zobril, Deke Brackett, Al Corelli Jr., Charles Kotz, Frank Loria, Gene Morehouse, Jim Moss, Jim Shore, Rick Tolley, Gary George, Dr. Ray Hagley, Shirley Hagley, Arthur L. Harris Sr., Dr. Brian O'Connor, Dr. H.D. Proctor, Courtney Proctor, Dr. Glenn Preston, Phyllis Preston, Dr. Joseph Chambers, Margaret Chambers, Michael Prestera, Emmett Heath, Elaine Heath, James Gerald, Cynthia Gerald, Merle Rothstein, Helen Rothstein, Parker Ward, Ken Jones, Jeff Nathan, Charles Arnold, Rachel Arnold, Donald Booth, Norman Wiseman, Frank Abbott, Jerry Smith, Charlene Pote, Patricia Vaught, and Danny Deese. Thank you all. A moment of silence. Ask for the yeas and nays.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there were 92 ayes, 0 nays, and 8 members absent. Majority of members voting in the affirmative, the chair declares that bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2412, declaring November 14th every year a special Memorial Day in remembrance of the Marshall University airplane crash.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Are there other bills on third reading? If not, bills on second reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2530, relating to the extension of the expiration of temporary registration plates from 60 days to 90 days.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced.
House Bill 2533, relating to a permanent windshield placard to be valid for the duration of the applicant's life.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced. Are there further bills on second reading? If not, bills on first reading.
Senate Bill 128, clarifying authority of governor and legislature to proclaim and declare state of emergency and preparedness.
Bill will be advanced.
House Bill 2310, provide the Division of Motor Vehicles authority to develop an antique fleet program so that multiple antique motor vehicles may utilize a single registration plate.
Bill will be advanced.
House Bill 2564, repeal of administrative hearing procedures for DUI offenses.
Bill will be advanced.
House Bill 2602, reestablishing certain specialized school service personnel classifications.
Bill will be advanced. Are there other bills on first reading? If not, leaves of absence, Lady from 71st.
For our colleagues Ellington, Gearhart, Honaker, McGann, Sheedy, Ward, Westfall, and Worrell.
Are there objections to leaves of absence being granted? There are no objections. Those leaves of absence will be granted. Introductions. Gentleman to 48, Doug Hannah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just noticed we have a former member in the chamber this evening and also Kanawha County businessman, Joshua Higginbotham.
Lady from 71st, Dr. Kimball.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please greet our doctor of the day, Elizabeth Leota from Wheeling, West Virginia.
Further introductions? Okay, if not, miscellaneous business. Gentleman 22nd, Dr. Linville.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And so it's not in order for me to ask for the members' remarks to be placed in the appendix of the journal, so I would ask unanimous consent that the names as recited by the gentleman from the 25th, I think, be placed in the appendix of the journal on passage of the Marshall University plane crash Memorial Day bill.
Does the chair hear objection? The chair hears no objection. Is there other miscellaneous business? If not, Lady from 71st.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move, subject to announcements, that the House adjourn until 11 a.m. Monday, January 23rd, 2023.
Are there announcements? Gentleman to 43rd, Dr. Tony.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Education will meet Monday, January 23rd at 1 p.m. in the Education Committee Room. The agenda will be posted. Also, Republican members of the committee will caucus at 10 a.m. Monday morning in the chairman's office.
Gentleman to 68, Dr. Phillips.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Government Organization will meet Monday in the Government Organization Committee Room. The agenda will be posted, and Republican member, 1 o'clock, and Republican members, please caucus 10 minutes before the meeting in my office. Thank you.
Gentleman to 51st, Dr. Fast.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Judiciary will meet Monday afternoon at 3 p.m. in the committee meeting room. The Republicans will caucus in the chairman's office at 2:45 p.m.
Gentleman 39th, Dr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Rulemaking Review will meet in the Senate Judiciary next Wednesday, January 25th at 9 a.m.
Are there further announcements? If not, the question before the House is the motion that the House stand adjourned to 11 a.m. Monday. Those in favor of the motion will please say aye. Those opposed will please say no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. We are adjourned to 11 a.m. Monday.